I feel like this van build is a comedy of errors.
Hey, I'm Issa and I'm learning to convert this van all by myself while traveling out of it as much as possible.
My plan today is to get the electrical board up.
I'm using a step bit. And then checking with my plus nut. Ooh, nice fit. This is a drill problem.
Today on the van build show, my drill stopped working. My brand new drill. All of a sudden my drill just stops working, and I got this brand, one, because there was a good deal, but then also I thought it was very reliable, it has a good warranty, and so I called DeWalt and let them know, and my options are I can take it to a tool center that's 15 miles away and the estimate is maybe a week to fix it, or I can send it in and have it fixed and returned in 3 to 4 weeks, so in about a month. This is probably one of the tools I use the very most. I have my impact drill, but I can't fit the step bit in it, and I can't use a half inch. I don't have a half-inch bit, and I'm trying very hard to buy as little as possible. It doesn't appear that way, but I swear I'm trying to buy as little as possible. It's a DeWalt issue, and I don't really like it being a my issue, and I'm instead going to be productive in another way. Now I'm going to measure twice so I can cut once, but y'all know I'm going to be making multiple cuts. Rookie mistake. I thought I double checked, but I didn't double check that I went through the frickin' wood. I still cut twice, and I bet I'll cut more, but no one's going to see this board, and the mistakes I made were very minor, so I'm okay with it. I have a template, sort of, that I made from Easy Cool that will go in, but I'm using the wheel well cutout because it's mostly good. So I'm going to cut out, and I know I'm going to need to do a few cuts of this. I know this is going to need trimming down, but this is my starting point. I'm using a blade that just says clean wood. I'm just making sure that the wood is away from the table where I'm actually going to be cutting. That's pretty good. The wheel well's nice. Do you see? That's my first wall. I can't put it up because I don't have a working drill, but I have my first wall. It is actually a little tall right now. It's not perfect around the wheel well, but dang, I'm happy. I'm so happy. It's coming together. So, I have a drill. It's a new drill. I've figured a way around stuff, so I'll leave it at that. But I have a working drill, so we are going to get the holes in, the plus nuts in, and ideally we'll have the board up today.
I really wish that I didn't have to drill these holes and that Plusnuts just fit naturally. I also wish that I hadn't even bothered wasting my time doing insulation yet, and that I just had all this open so I could fill it afterwards. I am using a 1/4-20 Plusnuts, and they have a pre-bulb thing. So that's actually why, can you see how it's a little thicker right here? Because it's pre-bulbed, they've started expanding it, is what that means. But because of that, it doesn't just fit in those little holes, which is why I had to drill them out. These would fit fine if they were not pre-bulbed. And I'm going to use 1/4" by 20 bolts. So it's the corresponding bolt that fits with the Plusnut. So this is what a Plusnut looks like once you expand it. It's in the Rivnut family, and these grip the inside, and this is what we'll put the bolt into. So on the other side of the rib, this bolt part stars and flanges out to look like this, and then the 1/4" by 20 bolt will just go in there. The Plusnut is actually going to give it more holding strength than if I were to just put it to the straight sheet metal, if I just put a bolt into the straight metal. That's the best of my understanding, at least. I just tested the paint and it is not dry yet. So I'm going to go fix one of my mom's drawers. She does not know I'm doing that, so I hope it'll be a little surprise for her. It should be an easy fix, it's wood glue. But I figure with all the things I'm learning and doing, why not put them to use? I did test one out and make sure that the bolt goes in, so I'm actually going to put the bolt in each one as I go, because then I'm going to use my good old lipstick technique to mark on the board where I want to drill. So I guess some of these tools are not long enough. The mandrel, I think is what that's called, is not long enough. But this one is long enough for Plusnut. So you take the Plusnut and you just screw it on. You have it open. And then you go to your hole and you want to do pretty even pressure. And it's actually initially a bit challenging. And then you open up again. And I'm twisting this so this mandrel gets closer, so it comes in more. And the cool thing about these is I can come behind and I can feel how barbed that is. And then I'm just going to back the mandrel out of the Plusnut. And there's another tool you can use, but in the research I did, a lot of people complained about how challenging it was and that they had wished they bought the tool. So I sucked it up and I bought the tool. Sometimes convenience is worth the money, but I also am hesitant because I don't want to have a lot of stuff when I move into the van. Also in my research, people seem to think Plusnuts are less likely to spin, so that's another reason I went with them. And in my best understanding, Plusnuts can hold more securely, more weight more securely. Cue the time warp. I just measured how far from the edge of the van that I think I want the hole for the electric to pop out of. So I'm going to mark that, and then I'm actually going to put the board inside just to see if my mark will correspond with about where I want the hole to be too. I'm using 1.5 inch hole saw, 38 millimeters. Cool. Got a hole. It's really hard to see, but I know I need to mark this little, I need to cut out a little edge here. So that's lipstick. little dollop. I need to tuck these strings in because when I'm leaning over they hang and that's dangerous. I also decided to take a 1/2 inch off of the top. It looked like it was just a little too tall. So as I cut behind me, the piece of wood that's cut away is flapping and it kind of making it hard to cut. So I'm just using my thigh to hold it. And I'm aware this is not going to be a perfectly straight cut, and I'm very okay with that. Now that I mostly have this test fit set, I'm actually just going to loop the cords through. This is why I didn't want to do it each time because this is a real pain in the patoots. Then I'm going to mark my bolt patterns and then I'll drill my bolt holes. Trusty lipstick, gonna mark all of my bolt holes. Bolt holes, yeah. I'm gonna drill a bunch of pilot holes where I marked it with the lipstick. You should absolutely not be holding the board with your friggin' leg in your body. I had to bring the bolts out as I laid it against this not so flat area. I made sure each of the bolts was going to touch the wood, and then I kind of brought it back a bit and I put lipstick all over it. As you can see, the previous pilot hole, that's how I realized that the board was not fitting like I thought it was. So there's all my lipsticks and drills. 1/4 inch drill bit, because I'm using 1/4 inch bolts, which go into my 1/4 inch Plusnuts. And I test fitted all of the pilot holes to make sure they would work. So is this gonna work? I cannot wait to be done threading freaking wires. I'm sure I could have made all this easier on myself by cutting the wires, but I just didn't know how long I would need them to certain things. I was worried that I would short myself, so I just thought, screw it. Okay, cool. I am using this waterproofing wood finish. As you can see, it says transparent. It also says clear here. And it makes my beautiful plywood look like old school wood from the 70s and very gummy. So I had to buy this huge thing, and unfortunately, I don't think I'll get to use it on the other parts of my build because it's not cute. It's ugly, but it'll do. This might not be as exciting to you, but it was pretty cool to me. I just learned how to fully read a tape measure. I've always known how to read as far as like the 1/4 inch and the 1/2 inch and of course the inches and millimeters and all that. But I never really understood the little marks between them. So just a quick
little, if you're like me and you're learning everything new with the build, you've got all the marks between your inches. The little teeny tiny short ones are all 16ths, and they go by odd numbers. So the first little one is 1/16, 3/16, 5/16, 7/16, and so on. So the first next big mark is the eighths. So those are odd numbers as well. 1/8, I can't see backwards. I can see. Anyway, 1/8, 3/8, 5/8, all the way up to 7/8. There's 16 ticks in between, and then of course then you've got your quarters and your half. So I hope that that helps somebody else just really quickly learn the little bits. When I realized that it's just in odd numbers and it's 16ths or 8ths depending how little or tall they are, that made it a lot easier. And also if you want to do precise measurements, this little hook on the end, it moves because it depends on if you're doing an inside or an outside measurement. So if you want a really precise measurement, I guess it's called burning an inch. So you start measuring, you line it up on like one of your exact inch marks. So you can, for my measurement, I put it right on the 1 inch mark, and so I needed 12 7/8. So I actually went to 13 7/8 because I'm burning that inch. Hope that helps. I have some wire loom, and I'm gonna find the end of it and then use it to line that hole so it's not, so my cords aren't rubbing right on wood. For the record, I hate the color of this board. It's just so ugly. It's the test. Let's see if we need a cry or not. Some of them were perfect, spot-on fits. Some have required a little bit of adjustment. So I'm using a drill very inappropriately. I have a drill bit to poke through to make sure I can feel the plus nut, and then I'm taking a washer. I actually went and I got 1.5 inch bolts. I don't know why I was thinking 1 inch would be enough for 3/4 inch plywood. This one's going through. So I'm learning a lot of things while I'm doing the van build, and so if you've never used a socket wrench before, what I've learned is, of course, you find the right size socket you need for the wrench. And when you put it onto your piece, it's not just going to automatically, at least for mine, it doesn't just pop in. It's got these little ball bearing bits. So mine, if you push this little button, what it's going to do is take that ball bearing out, and then this comes up, and then your thing is on there. And if you want to take it out, you can just do the opposite. And then as far as which way your socket wrench is going to turn, with right or left, so this is going to be, for me, the way if I want to tighten the screws, so it's turning it this way, and then to loosen the screws, I turn it this way. So this little bit adjusts too. So that's a quick tip on socket wrench. This is freaking sturdy. Like, I'm really happy with the strength of it. So to be continued. I feel pretty stupid about making that mistake. Let's see how that goes. This is gonna be interesting. What the heck is going on with this? It's not holding any power. Indicates that it's a full battery. Solid. Why does that happen? Did I get everybody? I have a stuff. And yes, I know my necklaces are hanging down. I'm very aware of them. They're not in the way. Try not to get your wires knotted in the meantime. Oh, that's cute.
Owie, 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 owie. It just reminds me of like dirty wood that hasn't been cleaned since like the 50s. Is this infinity loop? I hope I didn't just jinx myself. It feels sticky. I don't like it.